Welcome everybody to Bubbles with Bethany. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to see you all, and I am really, really excited to welcome our guest this week, Kara Beckmann. If you have not already seen some of her magical design on her Instagram page, no, I'm sorry, Instagram, but also YouTube, or mostly Instagram?
Mostly Instagram.
Mostly
I
Instagram.
think there's some things on TikTok, but mostly on
I
Instagram.
spend most of my time on Instagram, and so I'm like,
Yeah.
always forget to ask. If you have not already seen some of these amazing designs, she has such a great page because she takes you along the journey of the design, so you get to kind of see it come to life. But also, she's a brilliant real estate investor as well. We have a lot we can learn from her. So I'm very excited to have you. Welcome, Kara. Thank you so much. Cheers. Thank you for joining us for Bubbles
Cheers.
with Bethany.
Cheers.
Thank
Thank you
you.
for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, thank you. I'm really excited, and we'll jump into it in just a second. I'll remind everybody a little bit of housekeeping here. Just make sure that you're on mute if you are not asking a question, but you will have a chance to ask questions if you want. If you are not able to come off mute or be on your camera, we want to see your faces if we could. If you're not able to, go ahead and type your question in the chat, and we will do our best to get to your questions. But I get to go first because it's my show. So, Kara, thank you so much. I know what I think are your unique superpowers, but I always like to hear from people if there's something different or something that maybe we don't see, or maybe just your perspective on what is your unique superpower.
Yeah, I would say it is honestly my risk tolerance. I'm very much a person who likes to dive in and then figure it out as I go. And without having that, there's no way I would be able to have built like even the portfolio that I have. If I felt like I had to know every single step of the way instead of just knowing the first and second step and then figuring the rest out as I went, I would be in a very different position as I am. So I think just somehow, somewhere along the lines, I just developed a really strong risk tolerance. And I would say that's my superpower.
I love that. And when I hear you say that, though, what I also hear is that you've built that muscle and you're brave, right?
Mhm.
Because nobody is going to stay, oh, I want a risk tolerance if they haven't developed that. And so I think you also get credit, right, for like exercising that muscle and building it up and building it up and building it up to get to where you
That's
are today.
a very good observation, because if I was not in the position, so if no one knows my backstory, I was working a retail job. I was making $35,000 a year with not a single raise in 5 years. And I could no longer be in that position another year. And so I had to take a risk. I had to take a big risk to change my situation. And without having my back in a corner, I probably wouldn't have developed that muscle and continued to develop that muscle. So,
Well, kudos to you though, because how many people stay in that position because they feel like that's the safer thing to do? Like any job is better than the risk of maybe no job, right? But kudos to you for believing in yourself enough, right? And believing in your ability to figure it out. Or worst case, go find another job where you're making $35,000 a
right.
year, right?
And that was the worst case scenario. I thought, if this doesn't work, I can always find another job. But what if it does work? So
Yes.
you
And
have
I
to look.
love that mindset, right? What if it does work?
Yeah.
That's so exciting. And you have really taken that and run with it. I mean, this isn't just like, oh, I took a risk and now I'm making $50,000 a year. Or I took a risk and now it's like, man, it's okay. Like you're crushing it.
Thank you.
I do want to talk about your business. I want to lead into that though. It's so funny. I'm always kind of thinking like, okay, how do I segue, right? Because people hear me talk all the time about my passion is to help people create conscious wealth, right? And when I talk to people about that, what I learned was that means something different to everybody, right? I always say it's like a God word, where God means something different depending on who you ask, right? And it's very personal to someone and it's very meaningful usually to someone, um, whatever that is. And so before we get into how you're building that, I'd like to set the baseline of what you believe conscious wealth means to you.
I would say it's really making a clear decision on being crystal clear on where you want to go. Because without having that path in mind, you're almost just shooting darts at all these different boards that are coming at you rather than making a plan. I mean, in my case, 5 years ago, I actually wrote myself a check. And I wrote a note along with that check saying, I think I had $12,000 in the bank at the time, and I was working on a project, but I wrote this really big check to myself that felt so unattainable. And I think just subconsciously, you start to make decisions and you start to take on projects that will get you to that financial situation so you can cash that check. And 5 years later, my rental portfolio is worth more than that check. And I just don't know if that would have happened if I didn't take the time and consciously figure out, what am I working towards?